Hey you guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, we are back in the kitchen, back in my chef coat. It's gonna be a new thing. I don't know, I've been enjoying it. Today, I wanted to share with you my favorite chicken noodle soup recipe. There's so many reasons why. I know you're probably thinking, how many reasons can you have to love chicken noodle soup? And why do you need to make it at home when they sell it at the store? I'm gonna tell you all of those things in just a moment. But first, I really want to give a huge thank you to Built Bar for sponsoring this video. By now, you all probably know that Built Bar is my favorite protein bar. It's my go-to bar when I'm hungry, when I'm going to the gym, if I'm feeling like I need a little something chocolatey. This is the double chocolate flavor, but Built Bar has 18 amazing flavors, 6 of which are new. And this one I really have been loving because I've been having like some really big chocolate cravings recently. And Built Bar's protein bars are made with real chocolate. So I'm still getting that fix, but I'm not sacrificing my goals in the process. This bar on its own is 17 grams of protein and only 4 grams of sugar. So I'm staying within my personal goals while having it, and it still feels like a treat. You know when you do like a chocolate happy dance? That's what I do when I eat this. I don't have a favorite anymore. I just have ones that I cycle through that I'm really vibing with that day or that week. And right now it's the double chocolate. Before it was the coconut. Before that, I think it was the mint brownie. So I love that there's such a variety and it never feels like it's getting old. Do you know what I mean? Because you have so many to choose from. So if you guys want to try Built Bar today, you can go to builtbar.com, use promo code AlyssaAnderson10 and get 10% off of your order. That's builtbar.com, AlyssaAnderson10, get 10% off your order. Again, a huge thank you to you guys for always supporting me so that I can continue to make these videos. And of course, a huge thank you to Built Bar as well. Okay, now to get into my reasoning behind the chicken noodle soup recipe today. Number one, I love soup. I've always been a soup gal. I can't get enough of it. I eat it all the time, and it just makes me feel so warm and cozy. Yesterday, I was at the grocery store with my best friend's soul sister, mother of my child, Samantha, and I was looking at chicken noodle soup because I always have a few cans in the house ready to go so that when I get my soup craving, I can dive in. However, I noticed that soup inflation is ridiculous. When I was growing up, those Campbell's, no shade to Campbell's, I think that they have a nice product. But when I was growing up, those little cans of soup were like 50 cents each when they were on sale. You could buy like groups of 4, get them for $2 altogether. Now they're $2.69 per can in Canada, okay? Prices vary depending on where you live. But where I live in Canada, $2.69 for that tiny can. I decided right then and there that that was ridiculous. I know how to make soup. I am capable. I decided I'm just gonna start making my own chicken noodle soup. I've made it before, obviously, but I kind of got into the habit of just buying these cans. But when I saw the price, I was like, no. You know, and keeping in line with my grocery shopping video that I did a couple of weeks ago, I'm trying to save money on groceries, so this didn't make sense for me. So, before I get started on the recipe, I wanna break down the price a little bit for you. In my chicken noodle soup, I'm putting chicken, celery, carrots, and some noodles. And then of course, the broth will be a chicken broth. I tried to keep my numbers as true to how much I'm putting in the soup as possible because obviously I purchased a ton of chicken and a whole thing of celery and then a whole bag of carrots. So I tried to break it down into what I really truly believe I'm going to be putting into this soup. And I estimated, but very calculated estimated, okay, that I would be putting in $3.50 worth of chicken, 75 cents of celery, 87 cents in carrots, and $1 in noodles. I'm choosing to use a powdered chicken stock, so chicken bouillon, and the price of that whole can is $4.19, and I'm gonna be using 2 tablespoons of that. Because it was so negligible, I kind of baked in that price into the noodles because I'm using far less noodles than $1 worth of noodles, so I put those 2 together and I came out with $6.12 for 5.68 liters of soup, which is what my Instant Pot holds at its maximum. In contrast, a 284 milliliter can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup is $2.69. To be fair, you add 1 can of water into the soup as well. So I doubled it so that it would be 568 milliliters for a $2.69 can of soup. It would take 10 cans of Campbell's chicken noodle soup to fill up my Instant Pot with soup, which would then cost 26 $26.90. If you take away the cost of what it's going to cost me to make this soup myself, the savings would be $20.78. Now, Campbell's chicken noodle soup is not really the flavor or the nutritional profile of a homemade soup, which they do sell in grocery stores as well. So I decided to take it a step further and do the math on a more home-style, home-cooked chicken noodle soup. So I found a more homemade style soup at Save On Foods for $7.99. That container of soup is a little bit bigger than what the Campbell's chicken noodle soup would provide, and it came in at 625 milliliters. It would take about 9 containers of that soup to fill up my Instant Pot with the amount of soup that I'm going to make. And at $7.99, that's a total of $71.91 for 5.68 liters of that soup. Take away the $6.12 that it's going to cost me to make this soup, and that is a savings of $65.79. I know that's a lot of math just for soup, but it really was just so shocking to me when I looked at this price of soup in the grocery store and realizing how simple I can make soup at home. So I wanted to share my super easy soup recipe with you in hopes that you might be able to do it yourself as well. So with all of that being said, let's get started. As I said, I'm keeping my soup fairly basic. I like just a basic chicken noodle soup. So the only veggies I'm going to put into my soup are celery and carrots. If you're using this video like a follow along, now is a really good time to set your water to boil for your pasta. Salt that water so that when your pasta goes in, it's going to soak up that extra salt and give your pasta a little bit more flavor. At the same time, you can preheat your oven to cook your chicken, or of course you can cook it on the stovetop as well, but I prefer to cook mine in the oven. And I do this because I like to use frozen chicken for my soup. I find that fresh chicken often goes bad if you're saving it for a day when you're going to be cooking soup, and you kind of have to have it ready. But if it's in the freezer, you can make soup kind of whenever you feel like it. It's not going to go bad in the freezer. It's chilling in there for I think 2 years or whatever it says it can be in there for. I also use chicken thighs in my soup just because I find it gives it a little bit more juiciness. Chicken breast I find sometimes is a little bit dry for soup, but if you're on a journey where you're trying to take less fat into your body, chicken breast is a great option there as well. But personally, I just think chicken thighs taste better in a soup. I don't know. That's just me. I like to season my chicken with garlic salt and pepper when it comes to making soup, but of course you can season it with whatever you feel like. Once the chicken and the noodles are all set up, ready to be cooked, I like to add my water into my Instant Pot. You can of course cook your noodles in the Instant Pot as well. I just find that it's hard to get the ratio right between water and noodles, so it ends up sucking a lot of the broth out. So I like to cook my noodles completely separately. But what I do is I put my water into the Instant Pot and press the saute function to bring the temperature up so that I can mix in my chicken stock. Personally, I've pre-cooked my chicken and my noodles for the purpose of this video, but if you're following along, that's how I do it. I cook my noodles and my chicken and bring my Instant Pot water kind of not to a boil, but to a heated temperature. So now that we have your water boiling, your oven's preheated, the chicken's in the oven, let's get to chopping. So here I just have my washed celery. They're a little bit noodly because I accidentally didn't put them in the fridge properly. I just kind of shoved them in there, but they will still be fine for our soup. So I'm just cutting off the ends, and then we'll just be left with the parts we want for our soup. Now again, I have a lot of nieces and nephews, so I know that oftentimes kids want tiny little bite-sized things instead of these large things because their mouths aren't as big as ours. So what I like to do is I like to cut the celery down the middle, and you could even do this again. You could cut this one down the middle too, so that you have even more bite-sized pieces if you have little ones. But I'm going to be the only one eating this soup, or perhaps my boyfriend, but we both have adult-sized mouths, so I'm just gonna get to chopping. I actually made this soup yesterday, and I wish that I had a little bit more celery, but unfortunately, I used a lot of it in the soup yesterday, so this is what we have. Okay, I have my celery all cut up in there, and I'm gonna move on to carrots. I like to buy these baby carrots because I feel like they're super versatile. I find that these are far more convenient. They're so much easier for you to just take out of the fridge and snack on. And then also you can cut them up and put them into soup. So I just find across the board, these are easier to deal with. So I just use these. And I'm just taking a handful of those out and I'll chop those bad boys up as well. Sometimes I like to line them up and do 3 at once just to make it go by a little bit faster. But of course you can do it single as well. And I'm just cutting these into little circles, but again, if you're using a bigger carrot, you can always do the celery trick, cut it down the middle, make them into tiny little cubes if you have little mouths that are gonna be eating your soup. And there I have all of my veggies cut up. I just like to mix it up like this to make sure that I have a good ratio. I kind of want half and half carrot and celery. Now that we're done chopping, the Instant Pot water should be hot enough that you can add your spices and your flavoring. So today I'm just gonna use the Knorr chicken bouillon. I just feel like this is super convenient. I use it for rice as well. It just, honestly, for me, it's easier to mix into the water than the cubes, and sometimes the pastes are very expensive, so I find this to be the most convenient and also the least expensive. I also like to use this extra spicy Mrs. Dash seasoning blend. It doesn't have any salt, so it really is just for that spicy flavor. I just feel like it elevates the soup. If you are cooking for your children, probably omit this, but for me, I really feel like it adds to the soup, so I do put a little bit of this in as well. Then I like to use this Italian seasoning blend. Again, I feel like it elevates the flavor and also just the optics of it when it's in the bowl and it has these little herb spices floating around. It makes it feel more gourmet for me. So I think that it's more the presentation for me than the flavor, but I always add the Italian seasoning blend. And then last but not least, my trusty sidekick, garlic salt goes in there. For these 3, I just add to taste, and I kind of mix it up every time, so just taste as you go and see how much of each you like. And then with my chicken bouillon, I usually add 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of chicken bouillon. Again, taste as you go. Now that the broth is made, we can add in our vegetables. Again, I wish I had a few more veggies in here, but I ate them yesterday. So we'll just add these guys to the broth. Now that those guys are in there, just pop on the top to the Instant Pot and press the soup button. And now you can walk away, not too far away because your pasta's still cooking, but you can walk away while the pasta finishes cooking and the chicken is in the oven. And we'll meet back here when all of those things are ready to be put together. All right, our broth is almost done. By this time, normally as well, my chicken would be done cooking and so would my noodles. So now's the time to cut up our chicken. Again, I pre-cooked my chicken for this soup. As I said, I like to use chicken thighs for my soup. So I have my cooked chicken thighs here with just a little bit of pepper and some garlic salt. And I'm gonna take out 4 of those cooked thighs. I'm just gonna take these guys and cut them widthwise first. Then usually I switch my cutting board so that it's the other way, but then I cut it lengthwise afterwards to make them just into these little chicken cubes. And we'll do the same with the rest of these little guys. You know what? These were some pretty big chicken thighs, so I'm actually only going to cut up 3 of them, and I'll save this guy for later. Our broth is finally done. We'll just hit the cancel button or the off button on our Instant Pot, switch the lever to venting, wait until the soup vents completely. It is a pressure cooker, so we need to have all of that steam vent, and then we can take the top off and add in our noodles and our chicken. And there you have it. Fresh, homemade chicken noodle soup in, honestly, half an hour. For me, it takes a little bit longer when I'm filming to cook these, but I did cook it yesterday, like I said, and it took me half an hour. If you can multitask and cook your noodles at the same time as your chicken, at the same time as your broth, you truly can get this done in half an hour, and you can be doing other things while you're cooking it because your chicken's in the oven, your noodles are doing their own thing, and so is the broth with the veggies. So you can be emptying the dishwasher, doing laundry, hanging out with your kids, doesn't matter. It's something that you can kind of set and walk away from, and then at the end of the half an hour, you have a huge vat of soup for a very small price in comparison. This is stinking hot on my hand, but I am going to take a little bite. I just love soup. Man, chicken thighs in there are so much better, honestly. I'm not shading chicken breast. I love chicken breast, but the chicken thigh hits different, you know? Well, you guys, that is my super quick and easy chicken noodle soup recipe. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you make this soup or if you have any other tips and tricks for soups that you love. And don't forget, you guys, I still have a code with Built Bar. You can go to builtbar.com, use the code AlyssaAnderson10 and get 10% off your purchase. It's builtbar.com, AlyssaAnderson10, get 10% off your purchase. And other than that, you guys, I will see you in next week's video. Happy souping.